Hi, I'm Jeff Davis, J-Tech, diesel class 11. Today we're going to be removing the input shaft. So we're going to go over the steps, what we have to do, and go through the whole process, removing the input shaft and replacing it. Alright, tools you're going to need for this: socket, 15 millimeter, snap ring pliers, hammer, a couple punches, probably only one, honestly, and a couple screwdrivers. Get the snap rings in and out. First, we're going to start off by removing the bearing cover. Normally, if you're doing this, you're wanting to replace your input shaft. So when it comes time to actually removing the bearing, the easiest way to do it is with that big hammer. We watched the video. I watched the video before of a guy doing it with a couple pairs of two pry bars. Tried it, didn't work. Doesn't just slide right off like this one does, which most of them probably won't. This one does because it's taken it apart so many times, put it back together because it's a trainer. But you can do just a simple same thing, a couple side-to-side taps up and down with a hammer on your input shaft. It'll knock this loose and take it right off. All right, next thing we got to do is we got to remove the snap ring here. We got to remove the snap ring so we can get to that bearing. That's where your snap ring pliers come into play. Now this snap ring's a little beat up, a little out of wampus here, so it's not the best, but if you're doing this on your own truck or something like that, they come with a whole kit to replace all those parts. All right, but all I want to do here is I want to give it taps on the side. Taps in, and it'll push that bearing out. You can see that bearing starting to come out. Bearings off. Now, some engines might have a spacer in here, so you'd pull the spacer out first. This one obviously does not, but it has one hell of a little snap ring inside here, up inside these teeth that you need to get out in order to get your input shaft out. So you need to take the pressure off of it. If you have it pulled all the way out, you're not going to be able to get up to the top of it. So push it in, take that pressure off of it, and slowly start peeling that snap ring out. You can see the snap ring coming out right there. And there it goes. Which is another reason why you wear safety glasses inside the shop. So, there's your snap ring. Now my input shaft slides out nice and easy. Now going back in, if I was replacing it with a new one, obviously I'd have the new one in here. But obviously everything I just did before, I'm just going to go in reverse order. Starting with the snap ring, which the first time I did this, it probably took me a good 10 minutes of my instructor sitting there laughing at me, trying to get this thing back in. before he showed me a little bit better way to do it. Which, if I can get the input shaft in all the way, just get that snap ring up behind those teeth. It'll slide in up and behind those teeth. I can hold it in place with my finger. Slowly work my way around. Once again, using those grooves of those teeth to my advantage. That took a lot shorter than it did me the first time, so got that back in. Now I need to get the bearing back in. Obviously, you need to get that bearing put back in correctly. That lip facing out, facing towards the engine, the smooth side in towards the engine, or towards the transmission. And if you had a spacer in here, this is when you slide your spacer on in between your snap ring and your bearing. You're sliding this in, slide it in until it catches, until it'll hold in place on its own. It'll make it a lot easier to pound it back in. Now I say pound it back in, but you're actually going to do light taps all the way around this thing until you got to seat it back in place. How you know you have to seat it back in place is when you find the groove this line, this other snap ring lines up with. Be sure when you're putting this back in that you're only hitting the inside, because that's where it meets up at inside the transmission. The outside's not meeting up with anything, so you want to hit the side that's going to meet up with something on the inside. Otherwise, you can destroy your bearing as you're putting it back in. But that's the groove I was talking about that you're not trying to line up for. So you're looking for that groove. Now I know I spin this all the way around, that it's lined up, and I'll be able to get my snap ring back in. I need a few more taps on this side though. There we go. Alright, grab my snap ring tool again. Slide my snap ring over the top. Like I said, this snap ring was out of whack here, but I'm trying my best to get this sucker back on. Funny, because I did so much better putting that other snap ring back on, and now I'm having trouble with the easy one. All right, now I got the snap ring back on. Everything's back in place. Now it's time to put my cover back on. Now Now I got to make sure I line up my oil return line with the oil return hole. Now if I don't, obviously the oil is going to spill out everywhere. So I want to match it up to the hole I got. Start snugging down my bolts. Now you're gonna have to check with your manufacturer specs for what the torque setting will be. Each one will be completely different for the transmission you're working on. These, I believe they want to set here in the shop to 40 foot-pounds. So that's what we'll set them to. But that's the basics of removing and replacing your input shaft. Thank you for your time.